single one of you guys today on Wake Up and Ascend. Just to give you guys a little bit of understanding, you're like, I mean, I don't know what Wake Up and Ascend is. Like, what is this call about? Guys, this call is for you to wake up, you to tune in and ascend throughout your day, right? This is for you. This is a reminder to you, right? That you are a creator. You can tune in into that vibration, into that frequency. You can be in high belief mode, right? You can be hyped up throughout the day. Like, if you don't have energy today, then just feed off my energy, right? Like, I got energy to give, and I woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? To literally go ahead and do my session. So I'm gonna go ahead, guys, and just give you guys a little bit of, an understanding of a vision. Here, Wake Up and Ascend, we covered 4 different pillars, right? We cover, visualization. We put some music to really get into that frequency, get our energy up, right? Like awake, literally. Then we dive into some value, and we have such a powerful individual today, taking time out of his day to be on with us, to give us that value so we can go ahead as leaders and reciprocate that value to other people. Because that's our mission. Receive the value and reciprocate the value, right, to other leaders. And so after that, we cover goals. We go over some goals. We set some goals together. We guys, as leaders, we need to set goals to have, that tunnel focus, right, towards where we're going. And then we wrap it up with a prayer. And so I'm super grateful and excited, guys, to even bring up this individual. It's an honor, even to have him here. He said yes right away. Like, he was just, Anna, you don't even get to ask. Like, I'm there. And this is an individual that, I've been praying so much to be surrounded with. I've been in the industry for almost 40 years, coming from a trading, network marketing company. I fully, never saw like, the real opportunity vision as how he has presented it to me ever since I started working with him. And I'm like, man, like, if I was all in this business before, I mean, it's just a different type of work ethic now because of the vision he's been able to really put in my heart. And as leaders, like, we all need vision. If you don't have a vision, like, people perish. Like, we perish if we don't have vision, right? And this is an individual that, if you don't have a vision, he'll install that vision in you. If you don't have the belief, trust me, you'll be able to feed off from his belief. Like, that's his type of leadership, right? And I love how he's been able to take time, out of his day to be here, to pour that belief, that value into all of us. And so we got to give honor where honor is due. Let's throw some thank yous in the chat for John, for being here, right? For really, taking time and pouring into us. And so with that, further ado, right, I'm going to go ahead and remove myself from the picture. I'm going to pass it over to you, John. I'll make you host, and you can take over. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for you. Okay, here you go. There you go.
Okay, fantastic, Anna. Thank you for that kind introduction. Guys, super excited to be with you here. Hope to bring you some great value. So anyway, before we, kick off, the Wake Up and Ascend, I love the name of that. That's just beautiful. I tuned in yesterday, actually listened to the recording of Josh yesterday afternoon. He was on here yesterday. That was super, super cool. And so guys, for those of you that don't know me, I have been involved in the industry of network marketing now for 34 years. Actually, I think it might be actually 35 years now. In December, I think it'll be 35 years. And, my background, guys, I entered this industry. I was a blue collar worker. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, about 3 hours outside of Minneapolis, town of about 2,000 people. And right out of high school, I went to work in a factory. I was a maintenance person, and I have a learning disability. I have dyslexia. So, still struggle with reading and spelling today, but back then really affected my self-esteem, my self-confidence. I was very shy, very introverted, to the point where I wouldn't even say hi to someone, right? Unless they said hi to me first, right? So, the idea of sales was not even something that would have entered my mind in, my wildest imagination. And so, guys, I'm working in a factory. I'm making $9 an hour. Friend of mine invited me to his home. Now, this is 34 years ago, to look at a water filter. And, given my background of maintenance and the fact that I was so shy and introverted, I thought they wanted me to build a display. or something of that nature. Certainly, like I said, not get involved in sales in any way. And so anyway, there was actually a breakdown at the factory that evening. And so I ended up having to work late. And so, right after work, I mean, I was supposed to be there at 7. It's already like 8 something. And I just wanted to go home. I wanted to go home. I was living in a trailer house at the time, just, sink into the couch, make a pizza or something, and, relax for the evening and start it all over the next day. But I made this commitment to go to this meeting. And so kind of, not really excited about it. I went ahead and did it, which I'm just going to give you guys a quick point there, because one of the things that I believe, kind of my personal philosophy, is never underestimate the impact of every decision you make, regardless of how small or insignificant it may seem at the time. It makes a difference. I mean, your decisions in your daily life have led you to exactly where you are today in your life. Okay. And so think about this: 34 years ago, breakdown at the factory, just wanted to go home, but I made the commitment and I went. And how life-changing that little decision to go versus to go home made for me. I mean, it completely changed the course of my life. I got introduced to this concept of network marketing, but even moreover, think about the compounding effect of that decision. Literally tens of thousands of people, as a result of me going to that meeting versus going home, lives got impacted in some small way, or in many cases, some large way, for that one decision. But anyway, guys, this was a water filter. All I could see at that time was buying a filter. They were $120. You'd sold them for $179. The way these things were sold, we called it the puppy dog approach, where you, just like leaving a puppy with somebody for a week, there's no way they're giving that dog up, right? Well, that's the way we sold these water filters. We'd let people try it in home for an entire week for free. You'd come back a week later. Hopefully they fell in love with the great tasting water, didn't want to give it up, right? So anyway, I placed 3 filters. I came back a week later, brought my brother with me for moral support, and I sold one of the 3 filters. Bought it for $120, sold it for $179. I made $59. I looked at my brother and I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to be rich." I mean, that was the easiest money I ever made in my life, right? And so now my brother witnesses this. He wants to get involved. He went to school to be a teacher, but he was working in a lumber yard. And I says, I don't know. I didn't want anyone else to do this, right? All I could see was buying a filter, selling a filter. I'm like, anyone else would just be competition. But I said, okay, you're my brother. I'm going to go ahead and let you into this, right? But we need to make a pact between us that no one else is to know about this. It was just going to be him and I, right? We were going to sell everything, right? And then I ended up going to an event. And I went to an event. This was a couple of months into my venture. I'm working it part-time, and I came up after the event and talked to the speaker and says, "Wow, this is unbelievable. We're going to go place a bunch of filters here in town and knock on doors." And he says, "You're going to do what?" And I said, "Yeah, we're going to place a bunch of filters." And he said, "Listen, I made $203,000 last year. If you told me I had to knock on doors to do it, I'd have never done it." Okay. And he said, "Who's your upline?" And I told him. He says, "You're actually in my downline." And he brought me up into his room after the event. He explained the concept of leverage, that idea of, building a business, a team, and leveraging the efforts of other people. And it completely, changed, my paradigm. And I left that meeting, instead of trying to sell a filter, I went out there selling an opportunity and the timing of the water filtration industry at that time, right? And a few months later, I'm full-time. Make a long story short, I've been with 4 companies over 34 years, and I've earned $28 million in commissions. Guys, I was high school education, learning disability, entered into this industry, not wanting anyone to know about it, trying to keep it a secret. So the reason I tell you that story is it doesn't matter where you are in your life. Okay, you can do this. That's what's so incredible about our business, is it doesn't matter what your age, what your education, what your financial position is, what you do, where you live, none of it matters, right? It's a level playing field, and you can do this, and this can, as it has for me and so many other people, if you stay focused, right? That's another major thing, is focus. Too many people, are focused on too many things. They're like a ping pong ball in a wind tunnel. It takes focus to make money, right? So if you're focused, number one, and you're consistent, number two, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to say, how did this happen? How has my life taken such of an incredible turn? I could have never imagined living this life. And that's the way I feel right now. I can never have imagined the life I have today. It's an incredibly, incredibly powerful business model, where, you can learn as you earn. You don't need tens of thousands of dollars to start a business. The risk is literally, there is no risk. The only risk that you have is a little bit of time, and not even a measurable amount of money risk to literally have a multi-million-dollar a year business out of your home, all over the world, right? So, that's the bigger picture. And I believe, guys, today, with what's going on in the world, with the economy, with inflation, even with the pandemic, with so many people, being sent home, getting used to that lifestyle, the idea of being able to work from home, have time freedom, build a business all over the world, I believe today is more attractive than it's ever been. I think about it, 34 years ago, when you told somebody you were doing network marketing, they were like, gosh, I'm sorry to hear things are that bad. Today, when you tell somebody you're making that kind of income, you're able to do it on your terms from your home, and you're able to do it all over the world, they're like, that's crazy. I need to know about that. What are you doing? Because I want that type of life, right? So again, this can work for you, that you can do this. As I mentioned, it takes focus, it takes consistency. And the other thing I can tell you guys that made a huge difference is through this world, right, of network marketing, I got introduced to the concept of personal development. And guys, it's not what you earn, it's who you become in the process. You need to first become worth it. And I can tell you, if you haven't dove in to personal development, they don't teach this stuff in school, they don't teach this stuff in college, but the philosophy, the wisdom of incredibly successful people teaching you about mindset, teaching you about focus, teaching you about consistency, teaching you about success traits. Guys, if you dig into that kind of stuff, that will change your life in ways, again, that are beyond your combination. And the key then is having the right vehicle. And that's what we have here at My Daily Choice, is we have the right vehicle. So a couple of quick mentions for me personally. One of the first set of tapes that I ever got these are audio cassettes. I know many young people, I don't even know if you know what an audio cassette is, but anyway, was Tony Robbins' 30 Days to Unlimited Success. And, you were supposed to listen to a tape a day for 30 days. And I remember listening to tape 2. And this series, I paid $179 for this set of 30 tapes. And tape number 2 started out, said, congratulations, you've just made it further than 90% of the people. And I'm like, it's unbelievable that you think about, out of 100 people that would buy that series, spend $179, that only, 9 out of 100 people made it to tape 2, right? So again, focus, consistency, following through. But that set me on the road. Then I got introduced to Zig Ziglar. Then I got introduced to Earl Nightingale, a set of tapes called Lead the Field. And then I got introduced to Jim Rohn. And he probably has had the biggest impact on my life and my personal philosophy, the way I live my life, the way I help make decisions in my life. Guys, Jim Rohn, and he's got, if you're looking to succeed in network marketing, Google Jim Rohn. There's an audio 45 minutes long that you can download the MP3 file on how to build your network marketing business. It's 45 minutes long, absolutely gold. I've probably listened to it 100 times. Okay. And you know, one of the things I'll tell you too is because it's hard sometimes to pay the price, right? When the picture's not clear. And so one of the things you need to get clear in your head is what is possible here. And you need to maintain that because there's going to be ups and downs. I always tell people it's not a matter of if you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down. Question is, are you going to get back up? And that is completely what separates the winners from the people that just seem to never get anything going in their life, right? It's pushing through that moment where you feel like quitting, right? I mean, every single person, probably bar none, that's ever succeeded in a high level in this industry had that turning point in their life where they were like, I don't know if this is ever going to work for me. I don't know if I can do this. This is not working, and felt like quitting and pushed on just a little bit further and had that breakthrough, right? So again, the personal development, the mindset training, the personal philosophy, all of those things, guys, make a major difference. I will go as far to say, I don't think you can succeed in this industry, and for that matter, really in life at a high level, you know, without just a lot of luck on your side, without personal development. And if you do succeed without personal development, it's going to be hard for you to maintain it, right? Because circumstances can elevate someone, but long term, you have to do the personal development. You have to do the work. Okay. So, you know, put that in your notes. How important, number one, every decision you make is. Every single decision you make is. Number two, focus. Number three, consistency. And number four, personal development. Those are some you know, major success points that will lead you to the promised land. Okay. And again, coming back to that concept of it's hard to pay the price when the picture's not clear, right? So, guys, we have an event coming up in Miami, and I want to tell you about my experience. So, you know, my first little event, it was just a local event. I was living in a small town of about 2,000 people. 70 miles away was a town called Fargo, North Dakota. That was the first event. It was just a regional, right? There's about 300 people in the room. And that event showed me a completely different picture, right? And once I started to understand it, there was a conference coming up in April, right? Just another few months down the road. And they said, you need to be at this conference. You need to get as many people to this event as possible. It was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I would literally be recruiting somebody today. Later that day, I'm saying, join me in Fort Lauderdale. I brought 52 people with me. I brought 52 people from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Those three states to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. What happened is I now had 52 people that saw the same picture that I did, right? Hard to pay the price when the picture's not clear. See, 52 of us saw what was possible. And some of those people are still with me today, right? 34 years later. So 52 people, you know, see, it's not so important that everybody you talk to buys your story about how unbelievable this business is, right? The important thing is you don't buy their story, right? About why it isn't going to work, right? So when you cement your belief, your vision of what's possible here, and you maintain that belief, you're unstoppable. Right? All the other things I mentioned, but belief is the other thing that is just absolutely paramount. When you know, and you know, that confidence replaces that fear, right? Think about something that you really, really believe. Because every time, guys, you talk to somebody, you're either buying or you're selling. You're either buying someone's story about why something isn't going to work, or you're selling your story about why it is going to work. And whoever has the greatest level of belief is going to have influence over the other person. Yeah. So belief is absolutely, people ask me all the time, John, what is the number one thing for success? And that's belief, right? If you have belief, you're not going to buy anyone else's story about why something isn't going to work. Because I promise you, you know, there's going to be some negative people, right? And they move around a lot. You're going to run into them. They're dream stealers. I tell people are like if you ever pictured a big bucket of crabs, you never have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, right? Because as soon as one tries crawling out, the others pull them back in, right? And that's the way just our friends, our family, our coworkers are. See, when you make a decision to better yourself, when you make a decision to do something, more, what it does is people are either going to join you or they're going to fight you. They may publicly and in your face tell you they're cheering you on, but let me tell you, they're the crab pulling you back in. They're waiting for you, because when you step out to want to do something more in your life, you're kind of sending an unsaid message to them that what you're doing is not good enough anymore, that you want more out of life. It makes people uncomfortable. Okay. So, again, when you have that belief in place, that's what, so, right now, I mean, we're a week. We're 8 days away. We're 8 days away from Miami. And I mean, I have witnessed miracles, people that were ready to quit, that came to an event and just exploded. I've witnessed people that, I mean, literally pawned stuff just to have enough gas to drive there, fill their car up and get there, and today are multi-million-dollar earners, right? Sometimes I almost think the harder the struggle is for you to make this event, the more impact it is actually going to have on you. Because one of the other major points I want to talk about here today is how incredibly important your story is. Okay. Because people by people, it's your passion, posture, belief, enthusiasm about what it is you're doing that attracts or influences others, but your story. Why are you doing this? Right. And the picture that you see, articulating that as confidently and with as much energy and excitement is going to help you build that business. I mean, I kind of joke about it. I kind of gave you an abbreviation of my story. I was, a maintenance person, blue collar worker, learning disability, never sold anything before in my life, got introduced to this business, started out part-time, with a goal of just wanting to make a few hundred extra a month, was able to do that, then started thinking, gosh, what if I could make 1,000? And then for me, 3,000 was full-time. That was more than I was earning in my maintenance job, right? I thought if I could make 3,000 a month, I wouldn't know what to do with the money. And then 3 turns into 10. And so I tell that story, and I've been telling that, I kind of joke about it, $28 million in earnings. And I made that in 90 days. It's just they've taken 34 years to pay it out. I've been telling that story for 34 years. So get your story down, cold so you can deliver it hot, right? Get your story down cold so you can deliver it hot. I tell people you've learned everything you need to know about network marketing in kindergarten. It's called show and tell, right? We tell stories about our company, about our products, about what's happened to us and what's happened to others. And if you're out there telling the story, right? If you're out there telling a story to 10, to 15, to 20 people, and you're getting nowhere, you need to, alarm bells need to be going off. And you need to be getting with your upline, getting with someone with some success in your upline and troubleshoot your business. Because if you get the story down, if you can get this very simple, very concise story about My Daily Choice, about the network marketing industry, and about what's going on in your life and why you did this, if you can get that story down and you tell it to enough people, you're going to be successful. But if you're telling that story to a lot of people and you're not having any success, it's the story, right? We need to work on your story, right? So, getting your story down. And that's why, when people say, I've talked to, 20 people and no one's interested. And I'm like, I could talk to those same people, those same 20 people, and I promise you I'm going to have a different result, right? Because again, it's the confidence I come across with. It's the excitement I come across with. It's a picture that I'm painting. It was the life-changing experience that I've either went through or going through with this industry, right? So getting your story down is another major point in having success in this industry. And so, guys, what I want to do before I jump in, I want to share my screen. And because when someone says yes, right? When someone says yes to you and they join you as an affiliate, they want to build a business. When someone says yes, guys, that's when your job begins. It's not when the job ends. You see, that's when the job begins. And so what you want to do is when you get a new person that says yes, I mean, you need to, what I tell people is you need to be like their life support system, right? Because, they're going to be going through an emotional roller coaster. They're excited, right? But they're very fragile. So your job, I tell people, you enter this business off of faith, right? Faith in the company, faith in the product, faith that everything that you just heard is real. And that faith, your goal as an upline, as a sponsor of a new person, is your goal is to hold that person's hand, help them make that transition from faith to belief by making sure they're plugged in, by making sure they're getting started properly, making sure, you're giving them, if you can't give them the good advice, get them plugged into someone who can, right? Because they said yes, that means they want to make a change. They want this to work. And the mistake people make, we bring people in and then we just kind of send them to the wolves, right? They go talk to 3 or 4 friends. Those 3 or 4 friends, puke on them because they don't know what they're talking about. They're excited, but they're very fragile. A couple negative people will take them out of the business, right? So you really need to hold their hand to help them transition from faith to belief. And when you have somebody with belief, you have somebody that's going to stick around, going to influence people, and they're going to go on and have success. And where you really want to get someone is to passion, right? And passion is when you can't, I mean, it's at top of mind, right? I mean, you go to bed thinking about it, you dream about it, you wake up thinking about it, and you start dreaming about what is possible. It's this, you're unstoppable, right? Passion. When you're passionate about something, guys, success is all but a foregone conclusions. With that all being said, guys, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to give you a quick overview on this because I think you'll find it to be valuable. Hold on here. So this is a training manual that I put together, and it's going to give you guys a little bit of a kind of an understanding of exactly what I do. Are you able to see that? Okay. So let me shrink this up here. Okay. So first off, one of the most important things, guys, because we can get started in this business for free, right? We can get started with, $199, $399, $799. What I tell people is this: you need to get started somewhere between serious and nervous. Now, when I entered the industry, I mean, I'm making $9 an hour. It was $5,000. It's a third of my income to do it. And, I think if I could have started that business 34 years ago with a couple $100, I don't know if I'd be here today, right? I don't know if I'd be here today. I'd have probably abandoned it at the first obstacle. I mean, so what I believe is you really need to push someone to get started at the highest level, okay? And there's 6 reasons why that is. Number 1 is it sets an example, right? I promise you, every time you sit on across from somebody, they're going to say, looks really good, right? What did you do to get started? And you're going to have to tell them. So you have the ability to set the pace and set the example on how other people are going to join, right? The next thing it does is it increases your commitment. Again, if I could have got started 34 years ago with a few $100s, I don't think I'd be here today, right? I had 5,000 that I could not afford to lose, right? So, I mean, I'm going to figure it out, right? Think about this for a moment. You start a McDonald's franchise, right? And you got your grand opening, and the first, customer that comes in pukes all over your counter and said, "This is the worst burger I've ever tasted. I can't believe you're peddling this garbage," right? And you're not closing up shop and saying done. You're just like, get out of the way, clean the counter up. Who's next, right? So when you have a commitment, you're not going to walk away from a $500,000. So when I say get started between serious and nervous, you need to have enough into this thing where quitting is going to be painful, right? Where you're going to push through. So that's why, hey, listen, if $199 is that painful point for you because you literally can't even put food on your table, you're maxed out on your credit cards and you can't live, hey, then $199 will maybe give you that I can't lose this. But for most people, you need to push yourself a little bit harder, get that thing in place. And the company has put such an incredible value stack with these brand bucks. Gives you inventory to use, sell, use the product, sell the product, sample the product, gives you the best possible pricing, gives you matching travel dollars, right? That's real savings, guys. I mean, I just used it 2 weeks ago or early last week. I went to Cleveland, Ohio, went to Columbus, Ohio, used it in Cleveland and Milwaukee, and saved like $30 a night off of what Expedia or Priceline or Trivago would have charged me, right? So it's real dollars, it's real savings. And of course, this is wrong here. It says 5 level, it's a 4-level matching check. So one of the starting points, guys, is you need to make sure you're committed, right? You need to make sure you're committed, make sure you get yourself in the right place. So this page here just kind of helps people understand the ROI. I'm not going to get into that right now, but what I tell people is this business is Josh even talked about it yesterday, right? He talked about 3 major things, right? Well, I'm going to give you 4, because the first one is preparing yourself for success. Again, remember, when someone says yes, right, that's when the job begins, not when it ends, right? When somebody says yes, that's what you've been looking for. So let's try to get them started. Let's try to, number 1, get them started properly. And, number 2, let's help them. Most people have no idea how to set a goal, all right? And the reason they don't set a goal is they have no idea how to set a goal. Right. So this manual will help you very basically set a goal. And the thing about a goal is it's not designed to, this is it, right? It's designed to continue to massage. And here's the other major part about a goal is a goal has to be cultivated. A goal, a why, it has to be cultivated. You think about New Year's Eve, right? Somebody comes in New Year's Eve, they're going to change their life. They make that New Year's Eve resolution, right? And by the next morning, 90% of them have forgotten it. And it's not because they don't want to change their life in that way. It's because they didn't cultivate it into a passion. And the way you cultivate it is you write it down. Number 1, you review it every morning and every night. Keep it top of mind, stimulates that emotion that you had, keeps that picture of that vision of what you're looking to accomplish in front of you, right? And it makes a difference. So if you haven't set a goal, another major point, get that done. There's some other basic things here, that are important as far as understanding your rotator and what it takes to get binary qualified and getting your list together, right? Getting your list together is another very, very powerful thing. So again, it just helps you get your why, get your time commitment. Guys, this business can be done, spare time, but not very effectively. You need to allocate some time. You need to allocate some time. I don't care if it's an hour a day or 10 hours a day. It just needs to be consistent, okay? Now, here's where I talk about what I mentioned earlier, how incredibly important it is to develop your story. Because one of the mistakes people have is maybe they've been in a business for 6 months and they don't have a good story. Say, that's all right. You can say, listen, I've been doing this for 6 months. And quite frankly, I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of resisted everything that was being, told to me. And let me tell you something. On what is the date here today? On the 19th of October, I got it, right? And let me tell you what's happened in the last 90 days, right? So you can develop that story. If you haven't had the success yet, you just say, listen, on this day, I got it. Let me tell you what's happened in the last week. Let me tell you what's happened in the last 90 days. And then, of course, while you're growing your business, until you develop your own success story, you want to leverage and use other people's stories. Okay. So again, developing that story, incredibly important. Guys, this is another thing, incredibly important. Understand and get people's mentality that this is not a get rich. Yes, we hear about people that have just hit the ball out of the park day one. But for the vast majority of the people, guys, this is going to be up and down. It's not a job. It is a business. Most businesses out there, are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you don't make money for 3 years, right? You can literally cash flow, month 1, right? But I tell people there's 3 stages. And if you prepare them mentally for this, right, that stage 1, you're going to feel underpaid. right? You're going to work for a week and get paid for a day, right? You're going to work for a month and get paid for 3 days, right? So that first stage, you're by yourself, right? And so you have no leverage, right? You have no team in place. So it's really 100% going to be based off of your efforts. It's a very, very difficult stage. There's no way you can't, you have to pass through it, right? Stage one, you're underpaid. Stage two, you got a little bit of a team in place. And so now you're like paid what you're worth. And stage three is where it just takes a path of its own, right? You've got other leaders doing what you're doing, you're duplicating yourself, and now you're paid more than anyone's worth, right? So that's the big picture. Staying focused, staying consistent, getting your story down, doing some of these things will lead you to stage three, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's different for everybody, but you know, how long those stages are for you depends on how coachable you are and how, you know, what your time is and how much influence you have and how hard you really work, right? You know, getting your list together, incredibly important. See, people will work this business, let's say an hour a day, 5 hours a week. And you know what they do with that 5 hours is they try to figure out what they're going to do with the 5 hours instead of doing it. Get that list together, right? Guys, remember, the only thing that's going to grow your business, grow my business, grow any of our businesses, it is new people, right? You need to be talking. If you're brand new, if you're not in stage two, right? The 100% of your focus needs to be on talking to people that are not yet using our products, talking to people that are not yet involved in our business, whether those are people personally for you or you're helping talk to someone for someone else. But people are the only thing that are going to grow your business, right? So, you know, get that list together. So when you allocate that hour a day, you can spend that hour, you know, calling that list, prospecting that list, filling that pipeline. And then, of course, when you fill the pipeline, then you need to, you know, the focus. I talked already about mindset. The DMO, guys, this is your daily method of operation. This is a set of fundamentals. You know, Jim Rohn, right? I mentioned about him. He says that most everything in life can be broken down to a half a dozen things. There's 100 things you could do, but about a half a dozen that really move the needle, half a dozen that really make the difference. And that's what the DMO is, right? The DMO is a handful of fundamentals that become so routine, so automatic for you. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning. It's just, it almost becomes unconscious, right? So get that DMO down. The other thing I always tell people is, you know, constantly be asking yourself, how am I doing? How am I doing, you know, with my story? Is my story getting people's attention or is no one interested? If the answer is no one's interested, let's go back. Let's figure out what you're saying. I mean, I remember this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, this guy had unbelievable product success story. And you know, he's struggling. He can't seem to get anyone to do the business. Well, he tells me a story. It took him like 45 minutes. And I says, no question, that's a powerful story. I says, you just need to figure out how to tell that in 2 minutes, right? So get that story down cold, deliver it hot. If you're not getting people's attention, it's not it. It's your story, right? We need to get your belief there and get that story to where it's exciting and it attracts people. Then it's telling that story. So how am I doing with my prospecting? How am I doing with my, you know, with my follow-up? You know, how am I doing with staying plugged in? How am I doing with my belief? So I've constantly be asking myself, how am I doing? Because there's always an answer, right? There's always an answer. Okay, so once we kind of prepare ourselves for success, then step two is now we're going to take that list and we're going to start sharing it with other people. Okay. And this is going to come back right to your story, your energy, your excitement. I like to have, you know, as you're prospecting, just some opening lines. Remember this, guys, when you're prospecting, your job is to stimulate an interest, not satisfy an interest. Keep in mind, everything you do sets an example of what other people think they have to do. So if you take and, you know, go on and on for 2 hours, you might mesmerize them, but they're going to wake up thinking, I could never do that, right? So what you want to do is you want to stimulate an interest, get someone that sounds interesting, and then you want to use a tool, right? I mean, there's a brand new video going to be released at conference. You know, we presently got the 9-minute video. There's unbelievable amount of tools and information. Your job is to excite, stimulate an interest to the point where somebody says, I want to know more, right? Not satisfy his interest. That's what the tools and stuff do. So here's some great, opening lines that you can use. Do you have a plan B? Have you ever thought about doing anything different? Just between you and I, how are things really going, right? So some little things, just some kind of scripts that, kind of get that door open, right? Some more scripts and takeaway approach. A little bit on how to handle objections. I mean, one of the things that I teach people is what I call feel, felt, found, because you're going to, people say, it's just not for me. I'm like, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I thought network marketing is one of those things where you make no money and lose your friend. But what I found out was, see, the feel, felt, found. I don't care what somebody tells you. I can't sell. I don't have money. I don't have time. I don't believe in network marketing. I don't care what the excuse is. The feel, felt, found will bring it, will help it move forward. I know how you feel. What that does is you agree with them. Too many people argue with someone. When you argue with somebody, you shut them down, right? When you say, I know how you feel, you're agreeing with them, number one. And so all their defenses are down. I felt the same way. Now you're empathizing with them. Whether they know this is happening or not, you've shut down the argument. You empathize with them. They're thinking, okay, you're doing this. You know how I feel. You actually felt the same way, but yet you're doing it. What did you find out? What I found out was if I didn't do anything different, 5 years from now, I'm going to be in the same position I'm in that I was in. What I found out was that, if I don't, do this business part-time, I'm going to be stuck in this job forever. So again, the feel, felt, found. Talks a little bit about some social media techniques, little bit of key things in the back office. Then step 3 is building belief, right? So we stimulate an interest, get a tool in their hand, that 9-minute video or one of the videos, so they can see what this is, get them plugged into one of the conference calls or get them to an event, get them on a 3-way phone call. Guys, the 3-way phone call is how I learned a business, right? So if I bring you into my business and, you say, you're going to get 5 people in the pipeline, when you're brand new, I'm going to call those 5 people with you. Okay. I'm going to say, Anna, this sounds, who do you got? Well, I got I got Matt. Matt's been involved in trading for a while. He's had a lot of success. Okay, great. Let's get him on the phone. Hey, Matt, this is Anna. Just following up, see if you had a chance to review any of that stuff I sent you over. Listen, I hope you don't mind, but the guy I'm working with, his name is John. He's been doing this a little bit longer. I thought you might have some questions. So I hope you don't mind. I've got him on the other line. John, are you there? Boom. I take the call over. I'm going to say, Matt, how you doing? Did you get a chance to, look at that? I'm going to hear whatever he has to say. And it may be positive, it may be negative. What's going on now is all of the information is going through Anna's ears into Matt's ears. So she learns the subtleties. She learns the subtleties as I help answer Matt's question. I tell my story, I overcome his objections and move him forward to the next step. So the 3-way phone call, an amazing tool. And then the last step is getting a positive decision. One of the great ways to do that is, most people just have a hard time asking someone for money. One of the things I use is the scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being ready to get started, where are you? Well, I'm a 7. Okay, well, what do you need to do? What can I do? What do you need to see? What needs to happen to move you to a 10? And then you be quiet and listen. I mean, these are little techniques, guys, anyone can do, right? Because instead of like going back over everything, let's find out what's holding them back. Maybe it's, I got a wedding coming up at the end of the month. My kid's having a birthday. I've got to wait for I got to talk to my spouse. Find out what the holdup is that's going to move them to a 10. Then you can focus on overcoming that objections, right? Another thing I like to use is the Ben Franklin. Somebody's struggling with, I don't know if I should do this or not. Listen, Ben Franklin, one of our country's, most successful entrepreneurs and presidents, he says, take a pad of paper, put a line down the center. On one side, put all the pros, why this makes sense. On the other side, all the cons, why it doesn't make sense. And make commitment, right? Make the decision up front to do whatever the paper tells you. Okay, so what happens here is you help them build that list of pros, and then when it comes to the con, let them build that list on their own. They're going to struggle to put anything on the con list, and then the picture is very clear, right? On doing the business. And again, there's a scale of 1 to 10. Little brief overview on the comp plan, and then there's some worksheets. So anyway, that's I know I gave you guys like just a drink with a fire hose. But guys, here's what I want to tell you. This business can absolutely, totally change your life. MDC, in my 34 years having been involved in this industry, you look at those 5 elements that make up an opportunity, everything is in place here. I mean, this whole concept of house of brands, we got something for everyone, right? And, all we have to do is stay focused. We got to stay consistent, and we got to maintain the belief in what you're doing, right? And get that story down cold so you can deliver it hot. I've been going on here for like 40 minutes. So, Anna, I'll turn it back over to you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I am, in just total, complete